How are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good, Phil. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Introduce yourself.
My name is Josh Haywood. I'm a director of Southern California for Real Warriors.
Josh, what you're doing is magnificent work. Why don't you tell everybody what you're doing, and then I have a lot of questions for you.
Well, what we do is we take veterans out on day-and-a-half fishing trips. No cost to them whatsoever. If they need rod and reel, we rent the rod and reel for them. If they need a license, we'll buy the license. We pay the entire charter. We buy the food. The only thing they have to do is make it down to the pier.
That's nice.
Yeah, and we sometimes coordinate with other charities if they're in far-flung places, if they're Missouri or Idaho or whatever. We can talk with them and get the trip down here too. So we do whatever we can for the veterans.
And the purpose of it is, it's obvious to me, but you've seen the magic, I'm sure. You've seen what happens. So why don't you try to connote to everybody why this is so important? It's more than just a fishing trip, right?
It's absolutely more than the fishing trip. That's why we focus on the day-and-a-half trips. You get 20 veterans out there, sometimes 30. You get them out and away. There's no cell phone. There's no, hey, I have to call home to my wife, or my job's going to be calling me later on. You're out there shoulder to shoulder, spending time, having an experience with other veterans. And because they're veterans, they get to be veterans and do veteran stuff. I use different words when I'm talking to veterans than I do when I'm...
Of course, yes, like Tommy Lasorda.
Exactly. But it creates a bond. Shared experiences create a bond. And this is what we're doing, is making a shared experience for the veterans. There are guys, when you get out, you don't necessarily know what to do. They teach you how to be a good soldier. They teach you how to be a good sailor. They teach you how to be a good airman, or kind of a good Marine, I guess.
Gonna have some trouble
Our
here.
organization is almost entirely Marines. Everyone's a volunteer. We do have a few Army guys, and I'm the only squid in the entire group. I catch it all day, every day. So when you get out, they don't teach you how to be a civilian. And some guys have a difficult time with the transition. PTSD, or just becoming a regular person again. You don't have someone over you. You don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time. You can do whatever you want. And it's not always easy. So we get out there, and there's guys that are transitioning very well. There's guys that aren't. And you get them all together, and they talk, and they exchange resources, and let each other know that it's going to be okay. And it creates bonds. We've had a lot of people, one guy in particular, was having a rough time of it. And he comes out, gets on the boat with us. He meets a celebrity. Tito Ortiz is one of our biggest supporters.
Right.
He's a great guy, man.
Yes.
Real patriot. And they're always excited because we don't tell him he's coming. So we're all standing on the pier, getting ready to get on the boat. And here comes Tito rolling up, and you hear, I can't say what he said, but it's Tito Ortiz. And he was so excited. And we get out on the boat. The boats are dry. We don't have alcohol on them for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And that guy, he went out, had a great time fishing, caught a bunch of fish, and spent the day not drinking. He comes home, hasn't had a drink since. So, I mean, he's talking to people, he's out there, he's active, it's great.
Sure.
It's a success story.
Some of the horrors that people in our military have to witness and then come back to normal life, I imagine the suicide ideation rate is high, alcoholism is probably high, probably marital problems. I mean, it's all a result of seeing some really terrible things and coming back and adjusting to normal life, as normal as our life is here in California now. It's kind of crazy, but it's a tough transition for others. And I love what you just said. There's some guys that are doing really well, and there's some guys that are not doing so well, and then they can help one another.
Absolutely, and that's what we're all about, is building this community. We've been around, we were founded in 2019 by Joey Hummel and Nick Piscitelli. They got the idea because they went out fishing. They went out on the boat, they went out on a day and a half, and like, this is a great experience to share with people. And it creates, camaraderie amongst the people on the boat. So, like, why can't we do this for veterans to give them a way to make, connections with other people? And it's great when it's all vets, because you don't have to hold back. You get to have the same sense of humor and say the same stuff. You already have a somewhat shared experience. So it just adds to it. And I cannot describe how happy it makes me when I go out with these guys and see them come out of their shell. We took out a group of disabled veterans in July, some in various degrees, right? We had the guy that was a double amputee, and he was out there manning the rail better than some of the other guys for sure. But just to see his face light up. There was a few guys with PTSD that had to come out of their shell. And once we get out there and they realize that, okay, this is a safe place. This is a safe place for me to be me and talk about the things that wouldn't normally talk about, even with their wives, even with their brothers and sisters. They won't talk about it. But out there, they're getting it off their chest, and they're just being themselves.
Absolutely, 100%. Hey, incidentally, anybody out there has a question, just raise your hand. We would love to have audience participation. Do you have a question? No, okay. Anybody who has a question, go ahead.
I want to work here.
He loves Bass Pro. Who doesn't? I agree with you, man. This is the greatest place on earth. No question about it.
It is awesome.
You know, this reminds me of like fishing trips for kids. It's like on the hierarchy of things for kids to do. A lot of people would look at that and say, okay, yeah, you know, math, playing the violin, especially I was a teacher in China, so I mean, those poor kids, like, if they're not studying 24 hours a day, they're learning classical violin. But it's more than a fishing trip. We just said that, and it is for kids too. Who knows what new chapter in their lives, for kids and veterans, this is gonna open. I mean, an interest in marine biology, an interest in working with others. There are just so many benefits to being in the outdoors, and that fishing trip for veterans is way more than just a fishing trip.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because a lot of our veterans, and a lot of our veterans and our volunteers, and me included, started off by going on one of the trips. And they see exactly the same thing that I saw, was that this is a worthwhile experience that enriches other people's lives. So I volunteered. The majority of the guys that are volunteering, and ladies, have been on these trips and see what it can do for people. It just opens horizons. For some, like I said, the guy in Idaho or
right.
The vet in Idaho, they might not have ever really been to the ocean. They might have joined the Army and then they spend their entire time on a base in Oklahoma, except for when they go to Iraq, and then they come back to the base in Oklahoma. They never have an opportunity to be able to do that, to have this experience. And it's just so wonderful that we can provide that.
You know, as a volunteer, I was out of H&M Landing earlier this year. I think it was. I'm so lost on my time lately. But we went with a group of veterans, and there was a woman on the trip. And I got to chat with her, and I got to practice my crummy Spanish with her. And she was from Mexico originally. And so it turns out she's a Gold Star family member, lost her husband. And so I said, would you like to do an interview? I almost couldn't get through the interview without a tear. And talk about changing me when I heard firsthand what her and her daughter was there had to go through. Man, I mean, the sacrifices that these families make so that we can enjoy freedom. We wouldn't be going fishing, we wouldn't be in the outdoors if it wasn't for them. It changed me too.
Well, that's good. It's good. It should. You should get out there and talk to. You should go out and talk to veterans. Give them a chance. They would love to tell you about the different funny things that happened. You probably don't want to talk about the stuff that they don't want to talk about. But we're people. we all try to be tough, but you know, sometimes you need to be able to talk.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
It's funny that you mentioned the lady that was out there. We recently just had our first all-female charter. Everybody on board was a female veteran except one who was a Gold Star mom.
Yeah.
They had a great time. Apparently, it was the most fun trip anyone had ever been on. And I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to go out on it. I had another engagement, and I was like, oh, okay. So we do that. It's going to be something we're adding every year. Is one of our trips is always going to be nothing but female veterans, and it's wonderful. That's great too. It's just so I have such a great time talking about it that they come back and it sounded like it was just a massive party. They caught boat limits in yellowfin and Dorado.
Oh my God, well deserved too.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I imagine this is a costly affair, so how do you raise funds? How can we help you to raise funds and propel this into the future?
We raise funds any which way we possibly can.
Yeah, I know.
Anything helps. The two things that you need most when you're running a charity organization is volunteers and money. So we have a fishing tournament and golf tournament once a year. We recently moved from Newport. We're going to be going probably down somewhere to San Diego for that, near the pier. And as a matter of fact, next weekend there is a surf fishing tournament right here. We're having an after party at Four Sons Brewery in Huntington Beach.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're gonna have everything out. A silent auction. We've got a lot of good stuff. One of those Dometic coolers that you plug in. It's basically a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so we raise money that way. We also go out and just do things like this, where we have little things like shirts and hats and whatever we can get for those, and add that in. Direct donations. We have a website, realwarriorsfoundation.org.
REEL.
REEL. Yes.
Right.
I tell people that all the time. I was like, yeah, it's Real Warriors, and they write out REAL.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Oh, no, like the fishing reel. We go fishing.
Right.
Okay. So that's a great way for it too. But and then corporate donations. We have a few partners that have donated whatever they can monetarily. Sometimes they donate goods, products, anything that we can do. One lady actually, we didn't raffle these off, but there was a lady that sells Mary Kay products.
Yeah.
We found out we were having an all-female charter, and she donated these little Mary Kay gift bags with
Beautiful.
sunscreen and moisturizer. We were glad to give those. Like,
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Anytime we take these guys out, we give them shirts, hats, stickers, anything that we can. We have these neck gaiters that we actually have those over there if you wanted to donate and get one. Just to give them the full experience.
Well, on behalf of everybody here, I know they feel the same way I do. Thank you for the magnificent work you're doing out there. God bless the men and women of our armed forces who give so much, the sweet gift of freedom. We don't have it without their sacrifices. Thanks for being on Friedman Adventures.
Well, thanks for having us on here, and we appreciate it, because we could definitely use the exposure.
All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. Great job. Real Warriors.